Hey everyone.
Hello. Wait a minute.
Hello, Ninja Riders. If there are any Ninja Riders there. Oh no.
0. I think it takes a second to.
Yeah, that's okay. If people couldn't make it live, it is Easter Sunday. We will record anyway, and then they can stream.
Oh man.
So there's people. There's
Okay.
some people. Hi guys.
Good.
I'm Shaunta Grimes. This is Adrienne Grimes. Welcome. We are Ninja Riders, and we are here. Oh, it's everybody we know. I'm acting like we don't know everyone. Marilyn's here. Bonnie's here. Wendy. Adrienne, you froze. Okay, Adrienne is frozen, so we're going to figure that out. Hi, Sarah, Terry, Ellen. Let's really hope Adrienne can figure out how to get back in here because she's teaching this class. Okay. What happened? I don't. Okay. Hi, everyone. Adrienne will be right back because she froze up. She's just in the other room. So I'm here with her. She's going to leave and come right back, and hopefully that will work. Hi, Teresa. Let's see who's here. I see Marilyn, Bonnie, Wendy, Nikki. Hi. I feel like I haven't met Nikki before. Hi, Marilyn. Sarah. There you are. Hi, Terry. Hi, Ellen. I feel like Ellen is new too. Alea. Teresa, Margaret, Abby, Julia Quay on a third identity. Oh, Sabrina has another also third identity. I feel like Nikki just stalks me. That's all right. You can stalk us. Hi, Debbie Peverell. Just Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Susan. Hi, Dr. Deborah. Yes. Oh, that's Nikki K. Yeah. I feel like isn't Nikki, are you the one that Ruby drew a little picture for you for the, wasn't that Nikki K? Maybe not. Hi, Janet. Hi, Junita. Hi, AS. Hi, RK. Stumbling Bear. That's a name. I like it. I think RK Stumbling Bear wins the. Oh, it is Nikki. I thought it was Nikki K that Ruby drew the little avatar picture for.
Wow.
Was her.
Well, we're happy to have her here.
Yeah.
Hello,
everyone. I think we should wait till 8:05 and then get started because people are still coming in.
Good. I don't know what's happening, but everything's falling apart, and now it's not letting me share my screen share that I was going to share with you guys.
Now I am the host.
Well, you were always
leave and come back.
Maybe
So you're the host.
Try that.
What if I leave and it closes everything down? I don't even see a leave button.
Oh no! If you leave, it's going to close things down. Don't do that.
Because I don't even have a leave button.
Oh no!
You want to switch places?
No. Let me just.
Do you need to screen share? Yes, you do. You can't screen share. Can I give you? This is us not knowing how to do it.
Sorry. Let me see if I'm going to download it as a PDF and see if that works. Hold on.
Automatically add shared screens and videos to the stream, it says. I'll do that. Guess.
Okay, let's try share.
Camera.
Share.
Well, that's all I got.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying it. I must not let me share anything. You guys.
How do I? Well, let's just switch places.
You
guys on your hard drive.
It's not working.
But I mean, is it on your hard drive or can you do it on
it's on computer? Yeah, it's just on Google Slides.
Which you can open from my computer.
I have to sign in though. I could share it with you.
Can we end this and then just start a new one? There'll still be here. No?
I don't know if it's still
They're
going to
not
have.
logged in. They're just on YouTube.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's going to end.
Okay, well, do you have to have your slideshow or?
I guess I can just read it out loud, but I feel bad. Okay, well, I'll just read it. I can just read from it, and it'll still be a little different, but sorry, guys.
Hi, Margie.
Thank you for sticking with our technical difficulties. Today we're talking about, so
well,
hopefully,
say what this is first. This is the author branding
challenge, author branding challenge, day 1. And what we're doing today, what we're going to talk about today is defining your niche, because that's the first step that you do when you're doing any sort of, if you sign up, I can put the link here. This is what I could do. It's the same. If you've joined the author branding challenge, the link is, it's the same document that you got in your email today. Probably I've sent it out twice. If you have not joined the author branding challenge, click that link that's in there, and you can get a download of the document that I'm reading from. But it's just that it's just not letting me share the screen so that you guys can see it on the screen too. But if you have the document handy, you can follow along with that, or just listen to me and look at it later. But
I wonder why you can't share the screen though, because I don't have it on mine anywhere.
Oh, now you're like big and I'm small. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but we're just gonna go with it. It's not that big of a deal. It's gonna be a little interesting. I can't screen share it all though.
Why don't you just come sit in here and you do it in here?
All right, let's try that because. All right, hold on.
I'll go on your computer. She's just right here in the other room.
Yeah, because we have to share screen before.
Well, do you see? I don't see anything that says share screen.
Oh man,
I think so too. I don't know why the screen. Sorry, guys. I think we're gonna have to end this broadcast. Get another one set up before we end, and then start a new one with where we can screen share. This isn't gonna work without screen share. How embarrassing.
I know. I'm sorry, guys. Let me try it one more time before we end.
There it is. What'd you do?
I don't know what I did. I didn't do anything.
Okay. Good. We're set. Let's go.
We got it. Let's keep going before we lose it again. Okay, so today we're talking about defining your niche, which is the first, it's like the most important thing that you're going to do for when you are developing your branding, and it's the most helpful thing you're going to do for sure, because you'll see by the end of this, the end, one of the end products that you're going to come away with is kind of like a, it's like niche, but like really, really, really niche down. So it turns into kind of like it sounds like an elevator pitch. I like to call it like a thesis statement. It's just, you'll see. But that's what you're going to come away with. And it's going to really help you, take that first step in developing your branding and choosing your colors and knowing where to look for competition and all that stuff. It's going to help a lot. So that is the first step. And I'm really happy that Shaunta is here with me doing it, because while I know about niching is definitely Shaunta's thing.
It is. And also, so I am getting ready, maybe in April, definitely by May, to publish my first indie published novel. And I'm using a pen name. And so we are going to do the work of this class over the next 4 days, right? 4 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We're going to have a live stream, hopefully better than the beginning of this one, every single day for the next 4 days. The rest of the days, today we did it later because of Easter. We didn't want to have it right at dinner time. But Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we are going to have live streams at 5 p.m. Eastern. And we are going to do all the steps in the branding challenge, which the link will be for the branding challenge. If you haven't joined it, will be in the description of this video or this live stream, I think.
Yes.
And we are going to live brand my pen name. But except we're going to use a pen name for my pen name because I don't want to mess up my Amazon algorithm also bought stuff. Secret. And so it's still going to be a little bit of a secret. So what we are going to do is pen name my pen name.
Katie Michelson says no.
No, Katie Michelson. I'm sorry. I don't want to mess up my also bots. I would probably, Katie Michelson,
if you read,
you'll
get to know what her story is about. So if you get to know it and you're like, oh man, I really love
if you seriously want to read it, you're going to be able to find it after these 4 days because we're going to have to talk about my story so that we can brand.
Yes, we'll have a replay. Yeah, it'll just be on YouTube. So this just automatically is on YouTube even after the stream over.
Also, like secret about Ninja Riders, we almost never do anything that's very short. So likely you will like get home and then we'll still be talking. So.
We're very chatty and we love to answer your guys' questions.
Yeah,
so.
We're going to stay as long as it takes to answer questions. So make sure you put questions in the chat because I will be watching the chat while Adrienne teaches. And now she's going to do her lesson, and then we're going to do the work of the lesson on my pen name's pen name.
Yes. Okay, so defining your niche. Well, introduction. So this is a little introduction to the author branding challenge in general, and like we all kind of know. I feel like why author branding is important, and having a website and having an email list and connecting with your core audience. That's all important stuff, and we know it. So I'm not going to touch on this a whole lot because the point of the work that I'm doing with you guys is that it's to help you guys actually do it. It's to help you guys actually do the work going forward. To do the work now. It's to help you guys do the work now so that you don't have to. I'm getting distracted by the chat. Sorry.
No, just don't watch it. I'm watching.
I know I covered it up. It's to help you guys do the work and not to talk about why you need it because we all know why we need it. We have classes.
You know why you need to. You know the answer to the question of if you need a brand is yes. And you need a brand so readers can find you. So we're not here to talk about why or to convince you. If you're here, it's because you need one.
So as a writer, it's hard enough to think about ourselves as authors, let alone business owners. Being an author is the end goal, the faraway goal. But what if you could put out author energy from the start? And that's where author branding comes in. Branding yourself as an author is a mindset. It's the direction you make, decision you make to say that you are right now in this moment an author. And everything you're going to do from this point forward will prove that statement true. Everything that we talk about in Ninja, I feel like we talk about mindsets a lot at Ninja Writers. Is very important. And building your brand and developing your brand is a really fun way. I think it's fun. Some people think the design stuff and all that is really hard, but I think it's fun. And I think a lot of people think it's fun. It's just overwhelming, and that's why I'm here to help you make it less overwhelming. But it's a really fun way to dress yourself up as an author and to embody this mindset of being an author, even when you're just barely getting started. Like you could do this today. You don't have to wait till you have your first thing published. So everything you're going to do from this point forward will prove that statement true. Over the next 4 days, we're going to take a big step in portraying ourselves as authors by dressing ourselves as authors. We'll create brand boards that will identify the colors, typography, and visuals you'll put out to show yourself as the type of author you want to be. So this is not about needing to have, again, I'm going to say this, this is important to know, you don't have to have anything published. You don't have to have any content out there yet to do this stuff, right? This is the type of, it's the type of author you want to be, and you can be that author.
It's actually more, don't you think, Adrian? It's a lot about what other people who are already publishing. It's about looking at what they're doing and figuring out what you need to do. It's not about your content. It's about how you will present your content when you do have it.
Yeah. It's not about your content at all, actually. It's about the kind of figuring out the kind of content that your audience wants is a big part of it. But yeah, just also, I think it's just a way, it's just a way to put yourself out there, and you can do these things like figuring out what kind of and this is not what we're going to do in this class, but this is what having this stuff can lead to, what you should do in branding, and how author branding can help is, you can figure out the things that you can reshare to your email list or repost on your Instagram that are going to fit that brand. So you're building your audience even if you don't have any content yet. You don't need to have, books written and blog posts written and all that stuff today, right now, to start doing this stuff. You can just start doing it. And this is the first step, is to make the brand board. So that's what we're going to do today, or this in the next 4 days.
Adrian, that link for your handout's not working. Do you not have a link directly to the handout?
I have a link to, they have to sign up for the author branding challenge. They should have.
Well, Junita said it didn't work.
Okay, let me, hang on one second. Let me go back and get the right, it was the right one, but it didn't go to the author branding sign up page for the author branding challenge.
Yeah, we really need to start making nicer links. That link is ridiculous.
I know.
That's why we have Bitly. Like, maybe use Bitly real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Junita, Wendy said it's to the landing page and it worked for her. So maybe try one more time, Junita. Okay. Wendy said it worked, and Wendy was the one who needed it.
Yeah, it's if you sign up for the author branding challenge, you'll be sent the
it just should come automatically.
It should come in your email. You should get a welcome email with this workshop in there. Oops. Sorry, guys. Okay. Moving forward. So over the next 4 days, we're going to take a big step in portraying ourselves as authors by dressing ourselves as authors. We'll create brand boards that will identify the colors, typography, and visuals you'll put out to show yourself as the type of author you want to be. Day 1 is all about defining your niche. It's pretty obvious that defining your niche is important. You want to be an author, but what kind of author do you want to be? It's important that you start your branding journey by really asking yourself that question. Okay, so defining your niche. There's 3 steps. What I've done here, what I'm laying out here for you on this slide is getting to this point at this bottom part here, where we have that thesis statement or elevator pitch, or just a really niched down niche, the niche inside the niche inside the niche, that it's just gonna help you so much with going forward with your branding. When you are defining your niche, you're gonna start large and narrow in. Define your overall niche. And this will be something like romance writer, or blog, or mystery writer, or thriller writer, or sci-fi or fantasy, like those big umbrella niches. That's your starting place. It's too big and it's too all-encompassing to build a brand around. You need to find your niche inside of your niche. If you think about from the perspective of the reader, a reader almost never just goes and says in general, like, I want to read a romance, right? They have a specific kind of romance that they're wanting to read. And you want to get into the category that is that specific kind of romance. So that's the next step. The next step is to think about the types of content you want to make within your larger niche. So for instance, if you're a romance writer, do you write contemporary romance, historical romance, paranormal romance? There's about 1,000,001 different romance categories out there. There's a lot of them. Which does your writing fit into most? That's your niche right there. Are you a paranormal romance? Are you a historical romance writer? Are you a cozy mystery writer? Are you you know, an urban fantasy.
Political thriller or a domestic thriller or a
Ton of them.
yeah.
So what is your niche inside your niche? So once you have that, you're going to dig even deeper. And this is not necessarily a part of your official niche, but it's going to be a detail that's going to help you like guide your like design decisions, right? And the way that you dress your brand. So your colors and your typography and the pictures that you choose to put on your website and all of that stuff, the posts that you decide to repost. So once you've defined the type of content you write, you're going to dig a little deeper. If you like to write contemporary romance, what's a setting or trope that comes through most or all of your stories? Do you like setting your novels in big cities or in, you know, countrysides? Do you prefer?
But it cracks me up that you wrote troop instead of trope, and it's like
Oh
no,
no!
think of like a troop of orangutans or something following you around. Oh, anyway, onward.
Sorry,
Little
typos.
typo.
Do you prefer creating characters in the 19 to 23 age range? If you do, then you're probably going to add a new adult to your niche here. So now you're going to put that all together so that we come out with our elevator pitch or thesis statement or
Really about yourself as a writer.
Yep.
And just for the Seraphis asked if this works for nonfiction, and it does.
Oh yeah.
So like I happen to know Seraphis writes about lots of stuff, but one thing she does is write about organization, but you actually write about organization within corporations, I think, or for business people. So, you know, you would say your niche is I am a nonfiction writer who writes about business organization.
Mm-hmm.
If that is when.
Yeah. So now you're going to put all that together.
Subgenre, it's all the same thing. We're using the word niche, but it means the same as a subgenre. So my pen name's pen name, by the way, as Charlie Tucker. And so Charlie writes romance, right? She's a romance writer. And oh my God, so Sloan and Charlie Tucker are like soulmates because Charlie also writes. Oh no, I'm sorry. I have two pen names and I'm not doing that one, but one of my pen names is Writing Reverse Harem. That's actually the first book that's going to go out. Then I have another one coming out this summer. I think that's the one we're working on, and that one. So Charlie Tucker writes romance, but that's so broad. Like half of all books that are published or something ridiculous like that are romance books. So it's too broad. So she writes urban fantasy. She writes paranormal romance. And if I wanted to go deeper than that so that I could have an aesthetic or a mood board so that I can choose my colors and like really give people what they are, you know, so people really know what they're getting when they read Charlie Tucker books, then I would say I really like set almost all of my books, and especially this first series I'm writing, are set in rural Nevada. So there's like a ranch, mountainy kind of theme to my book. So I can use that, and it's going to give me the ability to do some like building of my brand.
Yeah. This is a good segue into talking about too, just a little bit about like if you have two very different niches, like you need to treat them almost as like two different, you need to make two completely different brand boards for those. Like it's the same, you know, I think most people, I mean, I hope that a lot of people talk about if your niches are too different, like you're writing about, you know, you like to write about your nonfiction stuff is very political and you like to write children's stories, right? Those audiences are not going to combine well together.
I like my rule of thumb is just ask yourself if the person, a random reader who doesn't know you, if they just read your first book, are they also going to want to read your second book? So if the answer is no, so my last book that I had published was a middle grade novel called Center of Gravity. It's published traditionally by Macmillan. If I ask myself if my readers for Center of Gravity, the middle grade contemporary, like kind of magical realism story are also going to want to read my reverse harem book? The answer is no, probably not likely. Even if, say, there might be some crossover, there might be some people in my audience who are, say, buying books for children who also like to read reverse harem. For instance, I like to read reverse harem. I also have children. My kids are not middle grade anymore, but when they were, I bought middle grade books. But that would be such an incidental crossover that's probably not what you're wanting to. I would definitely need a pen name. Now, my paranormal and my reverse harem are closer, but there is some concern. Like, I did research and I talked to some authors who are doing pretty well in my space, and there's some concern that the crossover between, like, going one way from reverse harem to paranormal with just two main characters is likely to have a lot of crossover, but going the other way. So people who are really into my paranormal may not go over to my reverse harem. It's a little bit of more of a leap, right? And so I probably will have, I am going to have two pen names, but I'm not going to keep them like secret from each other. But it's just to keep them so that people who don't know me yet can have a brand that telegraphs, like, hey, I'm a reverse harem writer, or hey, I'm a paranormal romance writer. And
that's hopefully something that you're going to see as you're doing the assignment from day one, about, looking for your 3 or 4 authors that fit your brand and are successful within their niche. You should go and look at their full repertoire, and I bet that you're going to notice that, like, that contemporary romance writer doesn't also have like Regency romance or historical romance books. Also,
so we have some questions. Let's see.
Okay.
Yes, Sarah says, what's reverse harem? It's yep, exactly what you thought. A woman with lots of men in her harem. It's pure fantasy. I know, I have found it a lot of fun. I really am enjoying writing it. I didn't think I would, and then I was like, oh, all right. It's pretty fun. AS says, if you make 2 brands, you use the same name or 2 names. I'm going to highly recommend, after doing this for a very long time, that you just focus on one brand right now and then see what happens. So, for instance, I'm not using a different name for my work with Ninja Writers and my books for Ninja Writers, right? I have a second nonfiction book that I'm self-publishing this week. And I'm using my name, Shaunta Grimes, but it's branded to Ninja Writers, right? And my novels, my traditionally published novels, are also written under the name Shaunta Grimes. So you may be able to use your same name, but you're still going to probably need to brand it. If your types of books are very, very different, you're probably going to need you may need 2 brands. Like the covers of your books are going to be very, very different. The way that you talk to your readers are going to be different readers. This is why niching is important. But some people, Nikki's right, says some people use a middle initial for different genres, and they do, or they will just use like my name is Shaunta Maria Grimes, so I might use SM Grimes for one, and Maria, Shaunta Maria for one, and Shaunta Grimes for one. I wanted to keep my pen name pretty secret because for a couple of reasons. One is because I'm a teacher of writers, and so I want to try to do this without contaminating the experiment of whether or not I can make self-publishing fiction work, because I have a relatively large audience with Ninja Writers, that a bunch of people might go buy my book just to support me. That will mess up my algorithms pretty badly. I know that because for my last middle grade book, I launched pretty hard to my list, pre-launched, and it did well. I sold like 1,000 copies before it came out, and I was impressed with myself. However, for weeks and maybe even months after, when you went to see Center of Gravity, pretty much all of the where it says customers who bought this also bought were all books about writing, because that's the one thing Ninja Writers has in common. That works for my books about writing really well. It does not work for, say, my reverse harem books very well. I don't want Amazon to think that the thing that all of my reverse harem readers have in common is like Stephen King's book on writing.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're branding yourself as an author like that, I feel like it very much like includes your name. Your name is part of your brand. Somebody's going to go and Google it and research it. And if, like it's just, you're thinking about, I don't know. It's about building your audience. Everything about author branding is not so much about you, but about how it will reach out to your audience, right? So, if you have one author name and you're writing across way different niches, you have more than one niche and they're super different, which I think even if they're a little bit different, that's argument there for two different brands or brand boards, but you're not connecting to your core audience if you're trying to split one brand between two different audiences.
We get
right?
So how often do we? A bunch of our team is in the chat too, Meg and Junita, at least I've seen. And I'm just all of you guys, Adrian, Meg, Junita, I'm really curious how often you are asked, like told by when you talk about niches to people when we're teaching, like the number one thing is people resist niching so hard. They don't want to do it. And I totally get it, because you feel like you're making a choice that you can't. It's like getting a tattoo.
It's also a lot of work. It is a lot of work.
Well, it is a lot of work, but if you don't niche, you have to do that work every time you write a book or every time you write something.
You're still doing the work.
If you niche, you only have to do that work once, and then you can do it again later. But like reality, you're probably only going to be able to write one book at a time anyway. So like focus on the niche for your current project, and then decide if you're going to do something else. Like if you're going to do something way, way different, then, you're going to have to go back again to the drawing board and think, okay, who's my audience? Who else are they reading? How can I make myself fit into that niche? So that, because the point of that is not to blend in. It's because readers, especially the kind of like really voracious readers that we want, they nonfiction is a little different here, because you're going to have SEO on your side, and you're going to be able to, you're going to have people going to Amazon and searching for exactly what you have to sell if you've done it right. Fiction is different. It's entertainment pretty much only, and it's very subjective, and it's very people read what they're, they don't go to Amazon and say, hey, send me something good to read. They ask their friends or whatever. And so, and you're not going to probably have like a title that's SEO friendly, say, or whatever, when you're writing fiction. So you have to niche, because when someone will look at the cover of your book or the title or the way your logo looks or whatever, and they'll say, oh, there are people who all they read is reverse harem or paranormal romance or military thrillers or whatever, and they can tell by looking at the cover and the font and where your name is on there. Even if they couldn't tell you this out loud, they can tell, oh, this is another book in my genre. And some of them are reading a book a day. You want them to be able to tell you've written something in their genre, and you can't do that if you don't know how to identify what your niche is and brand yourself into that niche.
You know what I've heard too that I think is
Adrian, you're frozen again.
Am I back?
There you are. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it didn't cut out my screen share again. I'll tell them that, all of what you just said. And they'll be like, well, they'll name like a traditionally published author, and they're like, but what about them? And then I'm like, start thinking about like your traditionally published books are pretty vast. Like you have dystopian, and you have,
well, do you know when so I have Viral Nation and Rebel Nation, which are a series, and they're YA science fiction. And then I have 2 middle grade magical realism books. And do you know that my publisher for my middle grade books treated me like a debut author? They did not talk about my other books. They did not market me as someone who was an experienced author. Because the genre was so different, they treated me like they treated my launch and everything as if I was a debut author.
Yeah. But like so even now though, you wrote middle grade, and your next book that's coming out is pretty older YA, like on the older spectrum of YA.
Well, the next one I'm sending to my agent, and it's contemporary YA. And so I'm not, I mean, yeah, but they do have stuff in common. Like they're all set in Nevada. That's something I have in common. This is probably why I've really been resistant to the middle grade and the YA books. Like I can see people who read my middle grade books as they get a little older wanting to also read Viral Nation and Rebel Nation. They do have a lot in common. There's disability in there. There's parents with issues in there.
That little part about, do you like setting your novels in big cities? Do you do you have a particular thing that shows up in all of your work? Like that little thing is important because it might be the one thing that's going to connect like two books that, might be in different genres, like umbrella genres, but like it connects because it's got that little, they're both set in Nevada, or they're both, it's going to appeal to the same reader, hopefully at some point. So yeah, really, really, really niching as far down as you can go is important, I think, because sometimes you're going to have to reach with your content. And I think that it gives you a little wiggle room there to make connections. Are we okay to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, read this last part one more time.
You keep freezing a little bit. I hope that you don't lose. All right, go on.
Okay, now? Okay, so now you're going to put that all together. Your niche should look something like this. I am a contemporary romance writer who creates stories set in New York City. So you've defined your niche. Now what? It's time to research your niche. My favorite part of any project, I will get so deep and like stuck and not stuck. I will research a project into like an inch of its life before I even start writing it, because I hate the writing process. I like when it's done and I can edit it and I like planning it. But for some reason, like it takes me longer to actually write the content or write the stuff, because I just like, I love coming up with new ideas and I like finding out new things, and it's my favorite part. And I especially love researching for author niches because it's really, really interesting. Like
Adrienne,
what you
keep freezing. I don't even know. Are you guys getting everything that Adrienne says? It's hard for me because I can hear her also in the other room.
Man.
I almost feel like while you're reading this, if you could turn off your video since you are sharing anyway, because that would maybe make the audio stop freezing. What a pain.
I know. I can hear her.
Oh, they can hear you.
Okay, all right. I'm
going then.
Whoops, sorry. I went way farther than I needed to go. So yeah, also this, you can have, I'll put a link in the description for this video after we're done with the live, so you can get this document and, read it on your own. Or and we'll be here tomorrow, so if you have questions you can come back and ask them tomorrow too. Anyway, so yeah, I really, really love the researching process, and I really love researching author niches because it's super interesting, like how much you can see, like the connections between two really successful authors in your niche, and like you can dress yourself as like them, right? You can dress yourself like them so you fit in at their table. You can dress yourself up like a cool kid. And it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. I think for yourself and for your mindset, but also to the reader who might stumble across you on Instagram and has never read anything that you did, but they just, they like the memes you're posting, or they like the content that you're reposting, even if it's not your own. It's important, and it's
Remember though, we're not convincing
it's
them. They already know.
no, but I love it. Okay, so because I love it because I get to read and dive deep into what makes other writers in my niche successful. When I'm creating an author brand board, I start by defining the niche, and then I look for 3 to 4 successful authors within that niche. So one more time, my example niche that I've made here is I am a contemporary romance writer who creates stories set in New York City. What I am going to look for when start to look for when I'm looking for authors that fit a niche that I'm looking at, I'm researching, I'm going to start with the umbrella category. I'm going to start with, if I'm trying to figure out what I want to niche in, I'm going to start with my umbrella category. What exactly that niche is going to be. I'm going to look and see like what is missing from the romance category. What book has done like really, really well and there's nothing else like it and you can write something like that. Or what niche can you just find your work fitting into really well? A really, really great book, maybe Mom or Shaunta, you can find the link to put it in the chat, but a really great book that will help you like find your niche if you are particularly into you have a goal of self-publishing fiction is Chris Fox's book
Right to Market.
He has this whole system laid out, and like the first half of it is trying to figure out like what books are you writing, what kind of books are you writing, what market are you trying to fit into, and that market you're trying to fit into is your niche. So it's really, really great.
Really and quick though, I want to say that for fiction, yes, you're pretty lucky because you don't there are readers for just about every niche. The point of branding is that you need to make sure that those readers know you're there, and that when they see you, they know that you're in their niche. So there are readers for almost every niche in fiction. It's a little different from nonfiction where like someone might only ever read need say one book on how to perfect your golf swing or whatever. They may you might be competing for a reader who may only buy one book on that topic. Fiction readers are voracious. They lots of them they read a lot, so they need more books in your genre no matter what your genre is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the point of the right to market exercises in Chris Fox's book is not to find where there's some perfect niche somewhere. It's so that you might know that, because there are some niches that are very oversaturated. Although even those there's room for someone, but you might be, have a harder time, say, standing out in the contemporary romance genre than in say reverse harem, which is a newer genre and there's fewer people, and then the readers who are there have already read most of what's there, so they really want something new.
Yes. Yeah. Tamara says that I know, but I don't find the authors. I don't even know how to define my niche. It's very bizarre. Yeah, Chris Fox's book is really great. I definitely suggest checking it out.
You just totally switched gears midway through your sentence.
No, I was responding to Tamara's.
Oh, okay. She says she writes fantasy, sci-fi, romance, erotica with non-human characters, and you know who writes that is Ruby Dixon.
Paranormal.
You should be reading Ruby Dixon.
Yes.
Ruby
okay,
Dixon
go check out.
They're beware. They're addictive, and you'll look at them and you'll be like, "This is not for me." Until then, you start reading them, and then next thing you know, it's been 2 weeks, and you've read 27 books, and you're like, "What happened?" Mm-hmm. Ruby Dixon writes the first one is Ice Planet Barbarians, and it's they're blue aliens.
Space opera.
Interesting body parts. Just put it that way. Mm-hmm. Ruby Dixon, and then there's lots of books out there. If you start with Ruby Dixon, you're going to find others in that little bitty genre. Oh, Deborah, yes, if you're in the Ninja Writers Guild, mm-hmm. Deborah is teaching a class about genres in the guild this season that starts next week. Yes. You can find out more about the guild on our website, which I will put in the chat. This, anyway, go ahead, Adrian. I didn't mean to.
That's okay. Yeah, Charlene Harris. Yeah, there's you'll find your niche, and hopefully the this first exercise will just get you looking so you can start thinking about. But also, you think about like if you have a particular set of writers or genre that you like to read in, and you know if you think of your 3 to 4 authors that think of them in terms of these are authors that you would like to fit in with. You would like your work to fit in with these authors' works, and look for the similarities between those authors, and that should help you find your niche as well. Okay, so what I know now is that I need to find authors who are contemporary romance writers. I have New York City in there, so I might look for that they favor location-specific settings, and also that they favor city characters. You know, those are just some keywords. So you might, you know, just start by making a list of what exactly you're looking for before you go on Amazon and start looking, so that you know, have more of a guide there. But also let yourself just like look on Amazon without that pretense of this is what I want to write also. And you know, be a little bit flexible because, you know, it's about also what your audience wants. And if you're going to fit into a niche, you know, some of your content needs to fit into what it's about, what you want to write, but also about what your audience wants to read too. So once I have my list of what I'm looking for, it's time to take to Amazon. Odds are you already know of writers who fit your niche because you are an avid reader in this niche yourself. And that's great. You're one step ahead of the game. If you're not sure of successful books and authors in your niche, start by looking on the Kindle bestsellers list. I usually, almost most of my research that I do for authors niches is by Googling like contemporary romance writers or contemporary romance books with location specific settings or contemporary romance books in New York City. So Googling, or looking on Amazon. So just, it's all about keywords. If you can find the right keywords to get into your niche, that's super valuable. And it just takes some testing and some searching and some time. So here you can research your larger overarching niche like contemporary romance and get a good idea of who is doing well in your field. Look for books on the bestsellers list that best match your niche. So for instance, if I'm looking for contemporary romance with a city theme, I might scan through the titles and covers on the contemporary romance bestsellers list to see if any look like they would have an urban setting. So a little bit of judging by the cover, and then, you know, I go deeper. So once I find some that I'm like, oh yeah, this looks like it would fit into my category, because particularly, and I think a lot of this is speaking from like a self-published, somebody who's interested in like fiction self-publishing. If you'll look at the covers, like it's a whole game of matching, right? The content, you know, trying to like fit yourself into this niche is trying, you know, dressing yourself and your work like the other people in your niche so that you fit in.
Well, I have a pro tip.
Okay.
You want to, if you're an indie author, you want to also take a look at traditionally published authors that are recently published in your niche, because those publishers have the money to have like huge marketing teams, and they will have done this research. It makes me think of, my dad taught a class one time for ninja writers, and he said, you know, if you were wanting to start like say a small mom and pop pharmacy, you would want to put it near a CVS, because CVS has already done the research about where a pharmacy will do well, and so you would want to be like across the street. People will still come to you, and you get to take advantage of all of the research that went into why CVS put their pharmacy where they did, right? So that's why you find like the dollar store next to a Walmart every freaking time, right? The same, like you go into say like a Target parking lot, and there's always a Michael's, and there's always a home store, and there's always it's the same store so much that I've wondered to myself, like, does Target own Michael's? Why is there always a Michael's? It's because they have done the research to know that the same person that shops at Target also shops at Michael's, right? And so they both want to be next to each other. And if you happen to be a little bitty, like, mom and pop store that needs the same audience, then you're going to want to be like wedged in between Michael's and Target, right? Even if you are, say, a little bead store or a little yarn shop or something, like, you want to be next to Michael's. You don't want to be like somewhere far away from Michael's, because
you know what I think of when
you're of Michael's marketing money that you don't have. So traditional publishers have that marketing, right? It's it's not the authors. Trust me on this one. The authors have almost zero say in what the covers look like or what anything. They might be making their own website, so like logos and stuff will be on them, but like their book covers and the fonts that are on their book covers and what the covers look like, that's on the marketing. Like, they have a big marketing machine that does that. And so you can take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I think of when you're talking about that is like mattress stores. I don't know what it is, but you will always find like more than one mattress store in the same vicinity, or like a furniture store and then a mattress store right next door. Like, they're always playing off of each other. So that's what I think of when you're talking about that. But it's true. You want to dress yourself up to match the people who already have your audience so that you can tap into their audience. That's the goal with author branding. Where was I? So so you're going to scan through titles and the covers and look and see just off the bat if there's, anybody that looks like they fit into your niche, or like it's a book, it looks like a book that you would have written or something like that. And once you find a book that fits in with your niche, you're going to look at the author's other books. So you're going to read through the description of the book and, make sure that it actually does fit your niche first. And then you're going to go look at the author's repertoire of other books, because you want to find an author who has really successfully niched themselves, right? Because the really successful authors that we're trying to be like here, or to learn from here,
emulate.
There you go. Now you notice when they stick to a niche, like all of their books fit within that niche. I think of, you go and look at like Sarah Cannon's repertoire, they all fit into like one specific niche. And that doesn't mean that she has to write about one thing all the time over and over again. But, they might all fit into the paranormal romance niche or
but it
fantasy.
Also does mean that if she writes a different genre, she's going to have to find a different audience. And so she's going to need to niche again. And she might use her own name. But if she does, her also bots for her new genre are all going to be paranormal romance for a while, because it will be the same readers. Although I will say that readers are, they can be like, if you write one series, it's not like a guarantee that your readers, if you do write something totally different, that the same readers are going to want. Readers tend to be often, not always, but often more dedicated to the genre than to any particular author. I mean, obviously there are some authors that they can write anything they want, and you're going to read them. Think Harry Potter, and then also Casual Vacancy, super, super different. And once people knew it was J.K. Rowling, they like bought it in droves, right? They weren't buying it when they didn't know it was her by like that. But once they knew, then they were loyal to the author. There's not many authors who have that kind of loyalty. So there's sometimes where you will like read one series from an author and never read anything else from them. I know I do that. I know lots of other people do that. So
I think actually Sarah Cannon is a really good example of somebody who had one author name and tried to fit within two different niches, because I actually found her from a contemporary romance series that she wrote a couple years ago, and it's completely different from what she usually writes. And maybe it's just because she decided she doesn't like contemporary romance. That might be it. But like 80% of it is also probably because the books that she became known for and that her audience wanted were the more paranormal or urban fantasy type books. So that's a really good example there. Okay, so you're gonna, once you have that, you're gonna do it again, go through this process until you have 3 to 4 authors who you know are in your niche. Okay, so by this point, you should have defined your niche and found 3 to 4 authors who are successful within said niche. And this is such a great start. This is a big start. You've done a lot of work now. But here's what I want you to do before tomorrow's lessons. Tomorrow's lesson is all about, we're gonna pick our color palettes for our brand board. So ahead of tomorrow's lesson, I want you to track down your 3 to 4 authors and find their websites, right? Just have their websites on hand and start looking, just doing a glance through at all of these author websites and look at their colors and their fonts and logos and make a note of like any similarities that you're seeing between them, because if they have done it right, you definitely are going to see some similarities. They might be subtle, but they are, even if they're subtle, they're going to be big. An example of that is when I'm talking about, we'll talk about it more when we get to the fonts lesson, but like fonts hold a ton of like psychological power when we're looking at them. And every contemporary romance author website that I went to look for, same kind of font type. And that font type is going to be, it's a font type that psychologically, like to us, feels like it's traditional and it's respectable, and we know we're going to pick up their book and it's going to be like Nora Roberts' book or, so-and-so's book. And that is like what you want to do as a romance writer. You want to fit into the niche as a romance writer. And it's super interesting. So you're going to start making your list, looking for similarities. You're going to also make note of design elements that you're drawn to on the author's website. That's always important. Start getting an idea of like, what kind of colors you personally are more drawn to as you're looking through there. Here's an example of today's assignment. I might have to screen share this really quick. Let me stop. And hopefully, better let me do this.
What did you happen now?
Are you kidding me? It's not letting me do it. I'm gonna close out of there. I think this is what I did last time. Sorry, guys. Maybe we can answer questions while I'm looking for this. Are there any questions in the chat?
Let's see. Sloan says a lot of reverse harem authors don't have websites and use Facebook author page. So their Facebook author page may be branded. The thing about reverse harem is that it's almost entirely indie, right? I can think of one traditionally published book that I tried to read, and it was not very good. So there's not a whole bunch of reverse harem traditionally published books. So they're mostly all indie. They're mostly, it's like it's a funny niche to me. Whoops. She'll be right back. It's a funny genre to me because it's so new that it is like very modern. So it's doesn't have like a back history of traditionally published books that it's competing with at all. Reverse harem is just like a harem, only reverse, right? So it's one woman with they're often sometimes called why choose books, right? So multiple men, one woman generally. although sometimes it can be, they can be LGBTQ books as well. So it's not always one man and several women, but there's never like, it's definitely never. So it might be one woman with like several men and women or something along those lines, or even I suppose several women, but it's never going to be a man with several women.
Right.
And there you go. It's all about pleasing the girl. Not Five Guys. Junita. Oh my God. I totally wish you guys could hear Junita talking about this right now with her little Texas accent, because it is the cutest thing ever when she starts talking about reverse harem.
I love talking about Meg's sock harem. I think that
Meg has a sock harem that's the cutest thing ever.
I don't know if she has it, but I think she totally should write something like that to fit in her lost.
She did not say sex. She's
socks.
Goodness gracious. So reverse harem is a fantasy book. Definitely. Because with apologies to any men who might be listening, and my own husband, who is amazing. When it was Kristen Schwager, I don't know if Kristen's here right now, but she's like, you have to read. It was Alex Liddell's book. I always want to say Party of Five. That's a 90s TV show. It's Power of Five. And it's fantastic, like really, really good. But I was like resistant because I was like, who wants to read a book about having 5 husbands, man? Like having one husband is a lot of work. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Who would want 5 of them? And then I read it though, because she kept talking about it. And it was so good. And it was totally not real life, like at all. So Nikki, what did you hate? So Nikki says she Googled one of her comp authors. Who is that comp author? Maybe we can pull that up.
Oh, that's a good idea.
The Power of Five is a very good reverse harem story. If you're interested in reading reverse harem, that's like a pillar of that series of that. That's like often people's first book into it. Power of Five by Alex Liddell. I'll write her name in here. And also,
yeah, I definitely want to know what the author is. I'd love to look at her website.
Yeah, Nikki, if you want to share your comp author website, we can look at it and see Naomi Alderman.
Okay, let's see. How do you spell Naomi? I'm spelling that totally wrong. Naomi Alderman. That's her. The Power. Yeah. So I can't know enough you as either cannot know enough about the brand or the popular like branding design elements within your niche from just one website. So I would need another website to like another author to compare this to, who is
or
also
2 more even.
Yeah. So I usually go for at least 3. Sometimes I look at 4 or 5.
This must be traditionally published. It has a blurb from Margaret Atwood at the top.
Yep. Yeah. So what's interesting to me is that I feel like traditionally published authors don't always have like the author websites and the like where they're, because they have,
you know why? I can tell you why. Because their publishers do, and so they're they're going to their, the publisher is like their brand. Yeah. So this, I can almost guarantee you, I have no, like that picture looks pretty generic to me. I don't know if that even know. I can't tell from that picture either what the genre is, but I can almost guarantee you that this cover is going to be right on point for whatever her genre is.
This says none of her books are in the same genre. Where is a list of her books? I find that hard to believe. Novels, The Disobedience.
Where does it say none are in the same genre?
You don't have that's very interesting. And she doesn't have, this is not a very good website, because I would have for sure pictures of my books up here. So Nikki, I think you can cross her off. This is a good example of not a very good.
Sarah Fisk says that let me see. She says all leadership books are white, black, and orange. I don't necessarily know if it's the orangism. It might be black and white with one bright color.
Yes, it's very like it's less like the three colors and more about with like we'll get into this tomorrow talking about like the psychology behind colors and like what and the adjectives that go along with the color orange when you look at it, and you're gonna want to find a color that also fits that adjective. So orange I feel like feels very playful to me. So does yellow. Something like that, but it probably is more like what you're going to think about.
It's also warm, right? So
yes, yeah.
It could
so
be
two stark neutral colors. So black and white are they're your neutral colors. Grays are neutral. Sometimes people will have like blues in there.
She says Brene Brown uses gray and teal. So she probably has gray, white, and teal, which is still two neutrals and a relatively
a pop
color.
Yeah, so it has two neutrals and a pop, and the neutrals are stark. They're stark neutrals. It's not like a light gray and a white or a dark gray and a black.
It's so interesting though. Like there's such a science behind all of this. This is not about logos, about covers though, because I just had two different covers made by a designer who specializes in my genres. One reverse harem, one paranormal romance, and the covers in these genres completely different. So in a reverse harem, the covers almost always have the girl front and center, facing so you can see her face, right? She's facing out, and often there's no men. It's just the girl, or will be like the girl and each cover. If it's a series, will have a different one of the men. I'm going to guess that's because most of the authors are indie, and the more people you have on your cover, the more expensive it is to make the cover. So my guess is that that's part of why that tends to be how those books are. But the woman is facing outward. Paranormal romance, almost always, like go look it up. Almost always the cover is the man. Yeah. And if the woman is on the cover, they're embracing and her back is to the audience. And the reason is, for whatever reason, well, I can guarantee, probably because of exactly why I said I was resistant to reverse harem, is that paranormal romance readers are women mostly, and they want to imagine themselves in the story, and they're okay with not imagining themselves in with 5 husbands, because until you've decided that this is a genre you're really going to be into, the first knee-jerk reaction is, who the hell wants 5 husbands that are 5 men, period? Like, that's a lot of juggling of men. I mean, it doesn't sound like that much fun until like you're like, okay, I'm gonna try it, and then you read it and then you're like, oh my god, yeah, this is really good. But they're less invested in like putting themselves in the story. Women who read paranormal romance, they want to see the man on the cover, and they are okay with a woman being there, but they don't want to see her face. And so if you see a cover and it just has a man on the cover or in a woman's back or but not her face, it's probably paranormal romance. If you see a cover and it's like got one woman and it's kind of glowy, it might be reverse harem. I mean, there might be more covers like that, but reverse harem covers are almost always kind of glowy, and there's almost always just the woman in her face. She's very it almost reads like very, what's the word, not brave, like very self-confident, right? She's like facing the audience, full face on to the audience, and you can see her whole face.
And I think it's important to note too that like when you're looking through and you're doing this research on day one, your covers, like the covers in the genre that you're gonna look at, like that's not what you're looking at to judge like what kind of colors you need for your website or your branding board. Your website colors do not need to blend in with your books. You don't want them to, because you want your book covers to stand out on your website and on, within your branding. So like, for instance, I'm going to show you Kate Stewart's website. She's got a really good author website. I really like it. It's very pretty. So it's very, like we were just talking about, those stark neutrals, black and white, and a pop of color.
It's glittery too, which is
It
very
is.
contemporary romance.
But like her books don't match in, right? They stand out because they're not.
Oh, but see, look at here. In her covers, they're contemporary romance, and you can see in all of these, none of those, the woman is is like looking out into the audience.
Yeah. So that's an important thing
to the reader.
If you are trying to create your cover or like give a designer tips for your cover. But for author branding, the only time like I look at the cover is during that first part when I'm trying to find authors within the niche that I want to write. But it's a good indicator that the author is in your niche because the covers fit the niche. There's a style for each of each of those niches. So, but that's the only time I ever look at the covers as far as author branding goes. Because I'm not designing book covers, right? Right now, we're just trying to design, the color, what your website's going to look like, what your social media is going to look like. And like, I don't need to look at this book cover.
But it's good to know that because your social media, people are also unlikely to want to be drawn to women looking directly at the audience because it's not what they want. And it's not because they like don't want confident women. These women don't look not confident. It's that these readers particularly want to be able to imagine themselves in the story. And it's harder to do that if they are seeing women.
It is good to know that within your niche, like the different, if they like to have, very male-centric models in front, buff males, or like, a woman looking off into the distance.
That's paranormal. These are contemporary.
Different. I think that like to know those little things because, they like things that are more glowy because then, that's an example of the kind of content you could be posting on your Instagram or on your whatever, your Facebook group. That's like easy content to post that might just draw in your readers, even if it's not your own content. You might be reposting a photo that looks, fits that fits your niche. So there's lots about it's definitely related. Like all the stuff behind like creating your cover to match your niche. Okay, so I have this thing of design note examples, and then we will go on to doing Shaunta's really quick. So I did put together this design notes example worksheet when I was teaching the Canva for Writers class in the Guild last season. It was like 70% about teaching you how to use Canva and 30% about building your brand board. So I went through a lot of this with them. And this was a brand that we designed together. And this was the first step, was we were thinking about like what authors do we want to start with to find our niche? And this is how I think we ended up coming up with an author who is a contemporary romance author who likes to write like location specific settings, because the authors that were thrown out to me to look at that they liked were all contemporary romance authors, and it was Kate Stewart, Nicholas Sparks, and Danielle Steele, which to me they all are very, very different. They're in the same contemporary romance brand, but like their branding is very different. So what I did here is I just took a look at their website, started making notes of things that were similar. So I think on Kate Stewart's website, I noticed I made note of this kind of simple, contemporary, bold, and like lusty and elegant color choice. Those were the feelings that I had when I was looking at her colors. So make notes of those feelings, even if it like feels silly. A lot of like your branding choices and design choices are going to be tied to those feelings. And what I really noted here, what stood out to me is the stark black and white neutrals and a pop of color. the logo includes the full name, a product, and then she's got this monogram. I felt like the monogram is kind of acting like an icon would, I guess, which when we get to the segment on logos, we will talk about the difference between a monogram and an icon and all the different types of logos. It feels like the element that is selling Kate Stewart as a romance writer, because it kind of looks like a kiss to me. Like it's just very simple and elegant, and like it feels romantic to me. I can look at this and I think, oh yeah, she's definitely a romance writer. It also helps that she has realistic romance written underneath her in her logo here, which if you're going something that I did notice looking at other self-published contemporary romance authors, that it was very popular to put that realistic romance or contemporary romance or whatever kind of romance you're writing, working that into your logo so people know for sure this is what you're writing, because romance readers like to know exactly what they're getting into. I feel like they're the type of readers that read the back of the book, which I do, and so does Shaunta, before they read.
And by the back, we don't mean the back cover. I know it's terrible.
The last chapter of the book, because you want to know if it's going to be like what you want to read.
It's anxiety.
Okay. It is. So, and then something that was really interesting to me, I'm going to switch back over to Kate Stewart's website really quick here. What was really interesting to me was that I started to notice as I was looking across those three websites, I started to notice that there was a similarity between the fonts. They all had this font, which is called a sans serif font, which means a sans serif font is a font that doesn't have like little feet. Let me see if there's an example. So in her logo here across, her name has these little feet. That's called a serif logo, or not a serif logo, a serif font. And it's like the most traditional font. It's like from 15th century. It's a very traditional font style. And when we look at it, it feels traditional. And this kind of font is called sans serif because it does not have feet. And it always almost feels very contemporary and very modern, even though it's not very modern, but it feels, it's not, brand new. It's not a new font, but it feels that way because it's it's a subtle difference from the serif font, but it's a big difference. And all of romance websites I looked at, like, I mean, I think at this point I have looked at 100 of them, a ton of them, and 95% of them have like their headers or their logos or their name will be in the sans serif or the serif font here, and their content is always in this sans serif. And I think it's very interesting because romance readers like the comfort of knowing that their work or that their book that they're reading is going to be just like that Nora Roberts book that they read. And they know they're going to get right into it. And so this
comfort readers.
Yes, this font is communicating that, right? Like we have the traditional and the comforting, like, oh, this is romance. I know I'm gonna like it. I've liked it before. It's playing close to home, and then they're just like sneaking a little bit of like difference in there with their like sans serif font here in their contemporary stuff, and it's totally psychological. But every romance author website, particularly like contemporary romance author websites that I've looked at, follow the same sort of formula. It's really, I find it really interesting because, like I said, I really like research. But yeah, so I made note of that the fonts are sans serif, and then like, a little pop of a script, not a lot of script, just something to jazz it up a little bit. Nicholas Sparks' website, I put in here that he has kind of a fall and like muted but bold and like a strong accent, like a black and a cream, like warm toned colors, which was vintagey and like seaside, and he's a very location specific, right? Like I think most of his books are set in like North Carolina, which I always feel like is like it's kind of seasidey country, right? And these colors that feels like that to me. The colors that he's chosen for his websites, which you could kind of see from this screenshot here, fit what I would think for his location specific setting. He's selling his products through his name. I don't know if I can, let me see if I can get this bigger here, because he did not have like a big thing of his logo, but he's just got his name and then like a little doodad there, but he's Nicholas Sparks. So some authors can sell by just having their names. And it was interesting to me that I think Kate Stewart did the same. There's not a lot of just like artsy design elements here, right? She's just got this little monogram with her name on it. Nicholas Sparks just has a little, I think it's a tree with like a sunset. I can't get in close enough, but go to his website. You can see. He has what's called a combination logo. Again, we will go over that more when we get to the logo segment. But it drifts more into the wordmark logo area. So his name is what is front and center. Whereas with Kate Stewart's, her symbol here is front and center. But Kate Stewart is a much less well-known romance author than Nicholas Sparks, obviously. So the brand is really being communicated through the colors and his name. Again, he had a lot of sans serif, I think, except for his name is a serif font with the little feet, and in his the headers and on his buttons and things like that. But in his blog posts and in his book descriptions, it's all sans serif, so without the feet. So that matched to me. Then I had Danielle Steele, which is another Nicholas Sparksy-esque author, and her color palette, I made notes. There was some. I feel like it was a good combination of both Nicholas Sparks and Kate Stewart, right? It had the red, it had the black, it had the white, but then it also had this cream, and it was a little more warm toned. So it felt traditional and like classic romance, but also kind of a little businessy and bold. I think that when we were looking at her, we thought, we don't think that the colors are selling her brand as much as like her name and her image here is. So that was interesting.
When you're Danielle Steele, you can just put your name real big and your picture. It's interesting to note how much larger her name, although it still is a sans
her
serif,
website,
how much larger it is than everyone else's. That's why sometimes, like, I always notice. So every once in a while, you'll see a book and like the author's name is ginormous, and then the title is like a little bitty down. See, hers, like, her name is huge.
I know.
Her publisher, who's a traditional publisher, who's done all, they have a big marketing section. They're like, people are going to buy this book because it's Danielle Steele. They're not going to care that it's called The Affair or whatever. So it's like tiny and hidden in the dress, and then the her name is like humongous and bold and white against that dark background and everything.
Yeah. So, but you have to look deeper than that, because there are little elements here that are fitting into her genre.
Black
and her color choices actually do. They do, because it's stark neutral. She's got this kind of in between neutral, but most of her neutrals are white and black, and then this pop of color here. And it's more of a warm toned color, right? And she's got, her name is in the sans serif, or the serif, and her content on her website is sans serif. There's
her design here is so
boring,
elegant, like almost,
or
like classy, and I feel like
she's
trying to telegraph that she writes like sort of classy, or like I would not look at this and expect to find
it's not a beach romance.
Or you know what I mean? Like this is, I would expect this to be like romance for ladies who lunch or something.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the what we were going for in the class when we were choosing these authors was we were looking for authors that had kind of like urban contemporary settings. So I think Nicholas Sparks was one that was like an offset, but he fit in because it was location specific. So sometimes you have to get creative and finding your authors.
He's also a name who's going to sell his own books.
Oh yeah.
So Nicholas Sparks, like if you say Danielle Steele or Nicholas Sparks, even though I've read The Notebook, I have never read anything of Danielle Steele's, and I still know exactly what they write because they're so well known. So, and for the record, very niche-y. Like I could tell you their niche, even though I'm not real well read in their books. I could tell you what their niches are, and so that's interesting to me.
Yes.
Kate Stewart, on the other hand, her name, what's biggest is just that little initials. It's more like a logo, and then she's got exactly what she is in big letters around the edge because she needs you to learn about her. Danielle Steele can count on you just having heard about her.
Yeah, we were another thing we'll talk about when we get to the logo segment is you know, that you have to like work your way up to being able to be at this, you know, point where you can just sell yourself by a name or by an image or a icon or whatever. Like it takes time for people to get to know you. So, and Kate Stewart is a good example of that because she's newer, you know, so like you can tell from her logo that she's a newer author, less well known. Maybe not newer. Newer is not the word I'm looking for, but
definitely newer though. Younger, newer,
and these two for sure. Yeah, she's
she recently had like kind of runaway best-selling indie books last year, but or in the last like say 18 months or so. But you know, she is a newer writer, definitely. I mean, Danielle Steele's been writing for 30 years. This girl's probably not much old. This woman is probably not much older than 30. So, and I don't know how old Nicholas Sparks has been writing forever, at least a long time, 20 years or longer.
Yeah. Yes. So anyway, so I just make note of things that I notice. Down here, you might make note if you're noticing that there's colors that are spanning across all three of them. I think I noticed that particularly, like I would look at this and say, like, there's some sort of red that's in all three of these, right? And red is very romantic and very
Nicholas Sparks seems very different from the other two.
He is. I think we were looking for urban.
I wonder if it's because he's a man, but maybe it doesn't matter.
It might be. But I think his website definitely fit in more with Danielle Steele's, selling his name first.
Yeah, because it's like.
But he's very, very, very location specific, and that's what we were looking for. Was an example of an author who's location specific, and he's very. I think all of his stories are set in North Carolina or something like that, and yeah. So,
but then when you get down below, it's below the pictures. It's much more like Danielle Steele's, where it's beige.
Yeah, lots of beige and
country casual makes sense.
Yes, country casual is a good idea. A good way to describe that. But you can see the differences, at least between the clear similarities. I mean, between Danielle Steele and Nicholas Sparks's website. To me, the colors are similar. Kate Stewart, I think, is the outlier here, but there's little things in there that are important that you can see across.
I would wonder if Nicholas Sparks and Danielle Steele's publishers are not either managing or didn't have some sort of hand in coming up with their website. So they look more professional, like there's more money behind them. That's interesting to me. Yeah.
When we do this for you, here in a few minutes, it'll I think you have authors already that fit your niche.
Yeah, do you want me to? So Charlie
Yeah.
Tucker is a contemporary romance. I'm sorry, geez. A paranormal romance author. I don't actually know any romance authors or any authors really besides myself that are so set in Nevada the way I am. But I would say oh my gosh.
Let's start here though.
No,
So
Christine Feehan. Oh, you're gonna start from there.
Yeah, I think just so we can show you guys, even though you know, just so that they can know like what I would look for when I'm doing it. So paranormal romance bestsellers on Kindle. I would pull up if I didn't know. If you did not know, you probably, I feel like most of you know the authors that
Oh,
you're.
look, there's Ruby Dixon. Is she still here? Who was asking about that? Funny for her to show up here. Oh, where she was there.
Oh, right here. Okay, so yeah, so I see there's names up here. Like it's easy to see from this bestsellers list, like who's doing well in your niche. Jamin Eve.
So it's very interesting to me that those first ones look very these don't scream paranormal romance to me.
So they might not be. So that's something that you need to check too, because people can tag books as the wrong genre in Amazon. They're not supposed
You might want to look for traditionally published books, which see all these are Kindle Unlimited. They're almost surely indie published books.
Okay, here is.
There's Jennifer
Roses, but that seems more fantasy to me than romance.
Interesting. So paranormal romance. Can you go up and let me see the categories on the side? Yeah. I wonder.
Do you want me to go back?
Let's look at right there. Paranormal, angels, demons, ghosts, psychics, vampires. None of those. Wow. Reach. Just go to romance in general. Let's see.
Okay, so maybe that's not your niche.
But it is my niche. So my book, you know what? Go back to paranormal.
Okay.
Let me see what's under. Wasn't there gods? No. Demons and devils? No. Angels. How about angels? Even though they're not angels, they're like
angel adjacent.
Angel adjacent. Well, they're like angels, but not like
this is very interesting that there's only one person on the cover.
Yeah, the other and mostly they're mostly men. And if you went and got down to where you were at, these are all indie published. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Go back up again. Let me see those.
But that's who you would want to look at.
Well, I know. So, Chris, look out here for Christine Feehan and let's see what genre she is under.
Okay. Yeah. So, if you have an author in mind, that's another thing you could do. You could search the author, pick one of their books.
Come up first. That's weird. Oh, those are sponsored. Okay, there she is.
Yeah. Do you have a particular book?
No, they're all. It's like all those dark books. Any of them, they're all the same. Book 35.
So you can. Yeah, you can click. If you have an author or a book in mind that fits what you write or what you want to write, you can start there too. That's a good place to start, because you can go down to the bottom here, and it has these categories.
Dark fantasy. That's interesting. That's not even a romance category. Romance. Well, I don't have a ghost in mind. All right, look for her book, Dark Prince. That's the first one in her series.
Dark Prince. Okay.
So you're gonna have to Google it. There's 35 books in that series. Yeah.
Okay. Dark print. Author's cut. They don't have just the regular.
What does author's cut mean?
I don't know, but that's a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the bottom. Oh, this is not. I think I need to find just her regular Dark Prince, but I don't see it.
Well, can you go to other editions of that book? Like click on it again and then look at other editions. Yeah, look at mass paperback. Where'd it go? It was there and then it disappeared. See all formats and yeah. There's a mass paperback. I just saw it. Yeah. Just click on that one.
It still says author's cut, but let's see if
That's
it's
so
different.
weird. What does that even mean?
It is different. Okay, so, well, it's better.
Action and adventure romance.
Less weird.
Okay, let's look at that one. Action and adventure. That's getting closer.
Okay. So some of these, more of these are traditionally published. Big traditionally published books right now. Maybe you need to read these books to see if you fit into that story. They keep popping up.
Maybe. Sarah Moss.
Yeah.
Rock Chick. Revolution. Renegade. Huh.
That's our Kristen Ashley. It's not actually our Kristen Ashley, but we have a Kristen Ashley.
We do. Maybe she's like a secret. Oh, Marilyn, maybe. Marilyn says maybe an author's cut is like a director's cut and you get to see the parts the editors wanted to take out. You get big enough and you can put whatever you want in your book.
Any of these look like?
It's more like, all right, go back up and let's just look at romance, paranormal romance again.
Okay.
Oh, now there's only 2.
Oh, that's weird. Let me go back.
Well, what?
I was going to go back to where we had that longer list.
I wonder if it would be more like urban fantasy. But that's not romance. It's a different genre altogether. It's not going to be there.
Yeah, so you have to play around. I don't see fantasy at all. Might be under.
Urban fantasy is not even there. It would be under fiction. Genre fiction. Go down. Let's see. There it is. No, urban life. How weird.
Google search urban fantasy
bestseller
or Amazon.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean we probably need to fit in with. Oh, anyway, it doesn't matter. There it is. It's tied in with paranormal. That's interesting. All right, these look more like it.
Okay, good.
First one does.
So I'm still seeing this Jamin Eve. So I would take a note that I definitely want to look at her branding because she's popping.
See these covers where where it's like mostly the man and although this one, The Darkest Moon, doesn't have that. But see, that's a shifter book, The Darkest Moon. You can tell because it's got a wolf on the cover. If you go down, is that it? That can't be it. Okay.
No.
Oh, Wicked. Is there Harry Potter?
To me, the traditional books do not fit in with the self-published books, I feel like, at all. They're very typography heavy.
Well, do you think that's because they're just trying to telegraph, I'm Harry Potter, or I'm Wicked?
Yeah, they can sell by the name, usually.
Yeah, not all of them, though. Just those big ones.
Yeah.
If it's Sarah Moss is also.
It's pretty big right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we found like a genre or a niche or genre that you feel like you fit into here, which is interesting because it was paranormal and urban fantasy. Okay, so that's an idea. You already have your authors that you want to look at.
Well, I thought so. I would have picked Christine Feehan, Cressley Cole. Only had 2. Let me think. Oh, remember that cover designer had me look at another one, Ilona. ILONA.
Oh,
I'm gonna see, just put in Ilona and see if she comes up, because her covers were gorgeous. Andrews, that's her right there.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's not her. Yeah, that's her.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's look at Ilona Andrews. Let's look at her books that she has.
It's that green one is the one that my designer sent me to see if I wanted something more urban fantasy like this one, or more paranormal romance, so this urban fantasy almost always has a man and the woman in an action-y pose, and the urban this was my designer told me, and paranormal romance almost always just has the man, either his face, or if the woman is on the cover, they're in an embrace and her back is to the front. Nalini Singh, Junita said.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, let's look, because we are running out of time. I feel like
we've been here a long time.
At Ilona Andrews' website.
Okay.
Let's just. Okay. So I can't really tell anything from the first website. I have to pull up another one. So let's look at another one.
Christine Feehan and see how they compare.
She's traditionally published, right?
Mm-hmm. And she's a big name, so look at how humongous her name is on there.
You can tell there. Okay, what's another one?
What about Nalini Singh? We need someone who's not traditionally published. I don't know.
It doesn't need to be not. There's authors that you know that your work would like.
Well, I don't. Is she's such a big name, like where her name's going to be like massive? Let's see.
I had never heard about her until some. Well, yeah, it is pretty on par with Christine Feehan.
But it's interesting. They both have these kind of darker, moodier colors.
Yeah, so that's something that all 3 of them. There's purple. Purple is a popular color, or like a bluish color. At least 2 of them have this purpley color. That looks like purple.
Christine Feehan had that purple in the corner, like by her lightning there.
Yeah, so some kind of purple is like worked into there. So that's a very popular branding color within, or color within your niche here, within this niche, if you're trying to fit in with these authors. I have a traditional like sans serif or serif name, serif. Ilona Andrews has a traditional like serif font for her name, but Christine Feehan and Nalini Singh don't. So that's interesting.
So that's interesting because they are both more paranormal romance, and Ilona Andrews is more urban fantasy.
Yeah. So it's
interesting though, because the other 2 are more romance.
And
that they don't have that romance.
Yeah. So that would be things that you would note there when you're making your list, things that you're noticing that are interesting to you, that like are similarities or differences, and trying to figure out why those are differences. Because it might be a difference that you need to work into your branding.
Is she using, I can't see it, my eyesight's not good, but it looks to me like she's using a serif font even in her text.
She is, yeah. So here she's using serif all throughout, but then there's little bits here, like this is sans serif. This is sans serif.
Just a little. Oh yeah. Junita just said she writes with her husband, and that's their name, like their pen name. So that's interesting.
That's a sans serif. So
these all 3 are traditionally published.
It's serif font, like it's serif heavy. Here is hers is, and this one is almost all sans serif. I don't see any serif at all. So very modern, very like not traditional.
That's so interesting to me because her main series, that dark series, is about very
so but there's different, I mean, that's just like the like surface level meaning behind these fonts. We will get in the font one, so we're just looking these up so that we have them, and we'll go deeper into trying to figure out what fonts you need to have and the meanings for different fonts, because there could be more there that's why she chose, but also she's Christine Feehan, so it doesn't really matter. So that's something to note too, is that their circumstances, like she probably does not do her own branding. She probably, she could put her name on something and people would just buy it because of her name. But yeah, all sans serif, all matching. That's what this is. It's very cohesive. Like, everything flows really well. And I feel like it's the same with Ilona Andrews. It's mostly serif with like little pots of sans serif. So they mostly stick with like one font family. Neilani Leany Sings, same. It's all sans serif. So it's very popular, it seems, in this note that I would make is that they stick with one main font family. There's not a lot of mixing here. So that would be something that you want to look into too, because you'll want to, like I said, there's psychology behind different kinds of fonts, and that might lead you. Like I would wonder if there's some kind of connection between the colors they chose and the fact that they chose to stay with one font. So
can you look up Cressley Cole?
Yeah, they're driving home some sort of.
No, Cressley with a K.
Oh, Cressley. Okay.
Ley, one S, Ley.
They're driving home some sort of message there, subliminal messages. This does not fit. Kind of. No. It's darker. It's much darker.
It's less moody and more like those other romance ones, but with more of the dark neutral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's got sans serif.
Yeah.
I mean serif.
That's serif. Some italics worked in there, but yeah, so very, very darker colors here. There's not a lot of white. There's no white, creams instead of whites. Yeah, you're gonna have to look at. You're going to spend some time looking at authors, right? So you're going to start with 3 to 4 authors, but I definitely highly encourage you, if you have the time, to just go down the rabbit hole and start looking at a ton of different authors. And because you just want to be able to look at what they're doing that's similar, right? So that you can dress like them. You can sit at their table. But this is a good start here for Shaunta's Top Secret.
The pen name for my pen name.
And okay, so I think that is.
Now I'm feeling more confused because I'm like, I don't even know.
Now you're like, is my niche? I'm trying to get back to.
Well, I can tell you, I already bought my cover, so my cover was branded to Paranormal Romance. So I'm going to have to do some research tonight to find, like, it's at this point, I'm going to market these books as paranormal romance.
Yeah. Documents. Oh, sorry. I did not want to go to documents. I wanted to go to slides. I just wanted to show you guys the assignment one more time to talk about what you're supposed to do. And then maybe we can answer a few questions to bring it up to a full hour or 2 hours, and then we'll be done. Okay, so yeah, your assignment is just to track down your 3 to 4 author websites. But I encourage you, if you find more, that's okay, because it's gonna help you figure out what you like. And also, you might do this assignment and be like Shaunta and be like, well, now I don't know what my niche is. But you just have to be open-minded with this assignment, right? Because it is very likely that
I would like to remind everyone that on Thursday at 6 o'clock Eastern, we are going to have a call that will be on Zoom, so that you guys can actually, like, we can have a conversation.
Yeah.
And
So
you can
kind of
talk, and you
share.
can ask your questions. And if you're still like, holy crap, I thought I knew my niche and
Oh
now
my
I
God.
don't, that would be a really good place to come and ask
Junita
those
mentioned Neil
questions.
Gaiman, and this is such a good example of a that
Neil
like your
Gaiman
books
always
don't need
interests me because people think all the time say he writes in so many different genres, but he doesn't really. He writes in the same genre for many different
website is
age
so
groups.
boring.
It is pretty boring.
I thought that was very interesting and a really good
Because look
example.
at what's really huge here. He's physically recognizable. Like if I saw him, like just the picture, I would know that was Neil Gaiman.
Because
And
also
so-
his looks like fit his genre. I feel like really well. Very like Mad Manny. But
Yeah.
like, your books, your books don't need to match your
There's
website.
like not even a book cover on the front, like a
I
book
know.
name,
It's
nothing.
pretty. I was very shocked. This was somebody we looked at.
You have to click 3 times to get to his books.
I know.
How
His name sells his brand for sure. Anyways, I thought that was interesting.
Junita, you don't get to have your picture front and center until you're Neil Gaiman, and people will see your picture and know who you are.
It takes time. We're going to talk about that.
It seems like when you start out, you need to have your genre front and center. And
Yeah,
then you can have your name when your name gets big.
Yeah.
And then when you're super famous, if you're Stephen King or
can
J.K.
drop
Rowling, then you can have just your picture.
Yes.
Most of us will not be picture famous.
We will talk about that on the last day. We'll talk about what goes into your logo, and part of that is going to be deciding on what kind of logo you need to have. And there's different categories of logos, and like
I just want to say, Sequay really quick says Neil Gaiman has sci-fi and children's books on one site. His children's books are almost all have some sci-fi element, speculative element. I read his middle grade book, something about and then the milk or something, or fortunately the milk, and it totally had a side, like it fit in with his genre. It was just for little kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could talk about fonts forever, Junita. It's really interesting to me.
Sarah has pretty reasonable goals. She wants to be a household name and be read 500 years after she dies.
Simple.
Those are simple goals. Simple to say out loud. I don't know about how simple they are to achieve. But you know what? You could have a really good life just aiming for that. So,
and you can dress yourself like that. Look for authors that, I don't know. I don't know if you're going to find a website.
Well, go look at William Shakespeare.
But, yeah. Okay. So that's all. That was a lot longer than I think I thought.
Is there any last questions before we log off for the night? Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
So many people stuck around.
Yes. We will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern to talk about colors.
Choosing. We're going to choose the color palette for
Charlie Tucker.
Yes.
And your genre in your folks as well, your names, logos,
time tomorrow.
Brands. That's the word I'm looking for. This is what happens when it's almost 10 o'clock at night in my brain.
5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. With the rest so from Monday through Wednesday, we're going to meet at 5 p.m. Eastern. You can come to our YouTube and you'll see.
While you're here on YouTube, subscribe and then click the little alarm.
You'll get a notification.
It looks like a bell, and that way you will get notified by YouTube when we are going to go live.
You will also get it in your email address, but if you don't and you can't find it, just come over to our YouTube channel.
Do we have a marketing class tomorrow at 4?
Oh, yes. There is a marketing class tomorrow at 4.
So then we can't have this live at 5. What is the marketing class?
It's
Cindy. Cindy does the marketing class, and we do have a marketing class tomorrow at 4. And those emails with the links are going out tonight, so you will have your email before the.
Oh man, you guys, people are complaining that it's overlapping. We have crazy schedules.
Yeah, there's like there is not a space where we can have a call at the same time every single day that doesn't overlap with someone. We have so many calls in the club. So these are recorded, and you may have to watch the recording, or actually Meg's class is also recorded. So you can watch either recording, but there's not going to be a way for us.
No, 2 p.m. Eastern is the creating income streams class.
That's our creating income streams class.
Yeah, you can watch the recording. You can, either one's. Everything that we do is recorded.
You can also go to the gym where they don't really expect you to take every Zumba class at the same time. So yeah, we're doing the best we can with it, but we just offer so many different classes that like we've run out of times where there is no overlap. So
we're trying.
So just you can come to this one obviously is a 2-hour call, whether we wanted it to be or not. So you may be at what I'm trying to even think what Meg has tomorrow at 4.
Meg has the from niche to pitch call.
Okay. So that one you may want to actually go to because it's a live call. Like, this is live too, but it's on Zoom. So you can actually talk to Meg. And if freelancing is your, if you're doing freelancing, you're going to want to. You
know what I think we could do for people that can't make it to the actual live stream is go ahead and leave your questions in the comments of the recording. And I'll spend some time taking a look.
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow's you can leave comments now. Mm-hmm. Oh, Meg says hers is at 6:00 anyway, not 4. Not 5. So it's going to overlap a little, but you'll have a whole hour. You won't miss the teaching part of this one at least.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely. Yeah. So, leave if you have questions for me about anything color related or whatever, or even the next day, I will make sure at the beginning of each of these calls maybe to answer some if there's questions in the comments from the previous video that weren't that were left over. I'll try to answer some of those too. So
yeah,
I think that'll be how we'll do it. So you guys can.
So the first half is gonna overlap with Cindy's call, and the last half is going to overlap with Meg's class, and there's literally nothing there's no spot on Monday to do a call that doesn't overlap unless we do it super early, and then West Coast people will be trying to wake up at 5 a.m. So this was the best that we could do for this to try to make it so that people could come to both, and this one will be I do have a class tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to teach a class on Adrian. Maybe we can put the link in there. It's income streams. And this one, actually, we are inviting non-club members to. It's $10 if you're not in the club. It's free. If you are in the club, just come. If you're not in the club and you just want to try a live class with me, this would be a good one. And it's
You're
and now it's my that was weird. What is going on? Weird. Anyway, it's about kind of are we gone? Did we end? No, we're live. We're still live.
No, we're still here. Okay, I'm just going to put this link in the chat here.
Anyway, I would love to have you at that income streams class. There's where you can get signed up for that if you are not in the club. If you are in the club, please do not sign up because you can just come. Are we still frozen, Sarah?
Yes, it's on the calendar. If you're in the club, the link to the income streams call is on the calendar.
Oh, to the call itself is on the calendar, yeah.
We are both frozen.
That's what Sarah said, but I don't know if we still are.
I think we're done anyways. I think that this is the end. I hope it was helpful.
Oh no,
We hear
Sarah
you.
said we're
Okay.
not. Good. Woo! I hope this was helpful for you guys. I would love to see you.
It was very fun talking about it.
Tomorrow
I really
morning,
enjoyed
we're gonna have a live stream, a 10-minute writing sprint to get your words in. We're starting our 3rd week of that particular experiment, and my opinion, it's going super well. It's so much fun because we have so many people who just come and they're like chit chatting, and it's like friendly and fun. So if you want to, it's 10 a.m. Eastern, live stream on Facebook or YouTube. And what else do we have tomorrow? All those other classes, like a ton of them. If you're not in the club, I don't know what you're waiting for. There's so much fun stuff happening. And I think you can get two weeks for free.
Yeah. You go to knitwriters.org. You'll see a link for the club right on the main page.
And that's it, guys. So we'll see you. We will see you. Thank you for, I can't believe 20 people hang out for 2 hours. I almost said 2 weeks.
Guys are
2 hours.
Stars.
And we will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.